name is Martavis Bryant, a.k.a. Martin McBride, and you listen to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers Podcast with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
It's Thursday.
Yep, that's accurate. Football day.
Yes, Thursday, September 24th, 2015, week 3 of the NFL season, and we are the Fantasy Footballers, back again like we are every single day of the week.
Like the Backstreet Boys.
You
Bop.
No, that's not.
No, what?
No, that was Hanson.
Oh, all right.
You sang Hanson.
Guess who's back?
Back
oh no, that's
again.
Eminem. I don't.
Wow.
I don't know what Backstreet Boys. Oh, Backstreet's back. All right, that's
back.
where I was going.
You're bringing me back to 6th grade.
You're
6th
welcome.
grade.
When you had a Backstreet Boys poster in your room.
And backpack.
You didn't?
Lunchbox.
And backpack. Backstreet Boys backpack. That's a pretty good hashtag right there. Welcome to the show. My name's Andy Holloway. I'm joined by Jason Moore and Mike, the Fantasy Hitman, right?
Mm-hmm.
We are the Fantasy Footballers, and we are on the Fantasy Sports Network. You can check us out on there. If you're watching us on YouTube, click that subscribe button. Leave us some comments. Talk about the show. We're on Twitter at the FF Ballers, and if you have a fantasy football question, we try to answer some of those every show, and you can do that on thefantasyfootballers.com. Click the Submit a Question button. You can also talk to one another. We have a large listener community on jointhefoot.com that you'll want to check out as well. Today we have a really great show. We have a bunch of news and notes. We'll get you all caught up on the fantasy football injury news, who's starting, all the latest things going on, because we have a lot of questions, especially with the quarterback position. We have our fantasy forecast today. We're going to start walking through the games this week, which is exciting. We have a Thursday night game tonight as well, the Redskins and the Giants. And we have our starts of the week today. You guys going to bring it?
It's the anniversary of Larry Donnell.
Donnell?
Yeah, I've been told that that's actually the correct way that you say that name.
You've been told by who?
People.
Not Donnell?
Experts in the
Really?
field. I don't know.
Don't they say Donnell on every...
I'm proceeding with Donnell based on everyone else in the world.
Okay.
It sounded weird when you said it.
I know, because but these things happen. Okay,
Yeah.
whatever.
Okay.
Donnell, Donald, who cares? Larry
Donut.
This is the 3-touchdown anniversary?
This was when he exploded.
Oh, how funny would that be, that he's on Thursday night again and won't do that?
It would be great.
So,
Is he
guys,
anybody's start of the week?
no. I have a fun, quick question.
Did you fall asleep?
Quick questions. I've got a little game for us to play. You guys ready?
I'm ready.
I have 3 questions, and you guys have to. You don't know what they are. The answer.
You don't want to play the really cool drop?
I don't have that right here.
Oh.
So 3 questions for you. You guys have to guess the answer. This is basically some interesting stats from the fantasy season through week 2. Try to figure out who I'm talking about, and then I got some questions for you. So, number 1, this team leads the NFL in turnover differential through the first 2 weeks, only turning the ball over 2 times and causing 10 takeaways.
The Jets.
I was going to go with the Jets.
It is the Jets.
Yeah.
Ryan Fitzpatrick, the gunslinger, has been actually quite careful with the ball. No fumbles for the Jets. So the question is, a good start this week at home against the bumbling Philadelphia Eagles.
Yes.
Absolutely. No fear. Sometimes I start a defense against like the Lions or a high-profile offense, even if they're struggling, and you have that fear that they're going to find their way against your defense. No worries this week?
I think they're ball hawks right now. So even if they score points, you can still score points.
The Revis brothers?
Yeah. Darren and Daryl Revis are going to really bring it today.
That's
I think
why he's so good, because he's two people.
Exactly. Since Darren Revis has come up this year, he's really come back on strong.
All right. Next question. Julio Jones and this wide receiver are tied with 22 catches through 2 games, tops in the league.
Oh, that's got to
Antonio
be
Brown.
No, Danny Amendola.
Oh,
Julian Edelman.
Yes,
Yes.
Julian Edelman is the answer. So is he your underdrafted of the year right now?
He's always the underdrafted PPR machine because he's disgusting.
But beyond PPR, 2 touchdowns last week as well.
Honestly,
11 for 97 both weeks.
I believe that he is the full-blown Wes Welker. I mean, we hoped he would turn into that a couple years ago, and since he didn't,
sounds like a disease. Like you've got a full-blown case of Wes Welker.
Oh, dude, I had the Welker last week.
Did you?
It's disgusting.
Yeah,
Is that the concussions?
I like him.
Yeah, it's a head trauma.
I like him a lot going forward. He's definitely in my. I think he is wide receiver number 9, so he's a wide receiver 1 this week.
Yeah, and just with how many targets he's catching, he's in your lineup every single week. There's no defense now. If they crush the Bills, there is no defense that I'm sitting my Patriots against.
All right, I've got a harder one here. I'm going to see if you guys can get this. Through 2 games, this player is 7th among all players in fantasy points, trailing only Tom Brady, Ben Roethlisberger, Carson Palmer, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, and Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, so it's any position, and they are 7th?
They are 7th among all players in fantasy points.
I feel like it's got to be a quarterback.
This is an interesting one.
So you said Palmer?
I did. I said trailing Brady, Big Ben, Palmer, Brown, Antonio Brown, Rob Gronkowski, and Aaron Rodgers.
I'm going to go a little
I'm going to give you just a couple more
deeper
seconds.
here. Deeper, and I'm going to go Tyrod Taylor.
It is Tyrod Taylor. Number 7. Is it time to take Tyrod Taylor seriously in the fantasy world?
I took him seriously last week, my friends, and when I played him.
I believe you will also be taking him seriously later in this episode.
Tyrod Taylor, man, the dude gets it done. And we'll talk about him a little bit
3
later.
touchdowns last week against a New England defense that has not looked it's looked okay at times. It's looked pretty bad on the run game at times. So Tyrod Taylor, number 7, that's pretty crazy, right? Because I don't know what his start percentage is right now, but it's not as high as it probably should be.
He was mentioned on our pre-draft, our sleeper show, our last sleeper show. We mentioned him as a guy to pick up in those quarterback important leagues.
All right, guys, let's talk about some news.
News and notes from around the league.
All right, we have a lot of news that we need to cover. People want to know, with the Thursday night games and the Monday night games, injuries are not so simple in terms of fantasy decisions. I mean, we had a league yesterday where the owner of Eddie Lacy chose to not really spend any fab on James Starks. And now I kind of understand, okay, if you think Lacy's going to be okay, you don't want to spend your fab budget, your waiver priority on Starks. But Lacy is playing on Monday night. So what is your option if Lacy becomes a game-time decision? I mean, I have a strong suspicion that that's the news we're going to hear this week is okay, Lacy's testing it out. He'll probably be a game-time decision.
I completely agree. And if you have not planned a backup situation for that to happen on Monday night,
and your backup situation at running back on Monday night, it's going to be
James Starks or bust.
Or Niall Davis.
Right.
Yeah, you don't have an option.
Exactly.
By backup option, I mean a guy you have to play on Sunday and just eat it. Basically, you have to eat the sandwich that is maybe Lacy starts, and he does fine.
If you don't have Starks and you're a game-time decision, you got to start somebody else on Sunday.
I don't love starting either of those guys. I think
you don't love what?
Starting either of those guys. This week against Kansas City, you've got a hobbled Eddie Lacy or a backup James Starks.
James Starks has looked good.
He has, but Kansas
If they
City's
say Lacy's back, I don't bench him, though. Because you don't know what the hobble ratio is, and he can score touchdowns.
Yeah, but
the hobble ratio is difficult.
We go full circle back to the Monday night thing where you just can't trust them.
There you go. So, all right, so injury-wise, Brandon Cooks didn't practice.
It sounds like it's not serious, though.
Yeah, an ankle injury. I mean, first day of the week, a lot of guys get days off if they're been hurt.
Man, bad vibes for the Saints.
Not good, although this morning news broke that Breeze is very likely to play.
Yeah. He played last week, too.
Yeah.
Against a far inferior defense.
It has to be better for Brandon Cooks that Drew Brees is playing than not playing.
I wondered that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Even a 65% Drew Brees is better than the cell phone man Luke McCown throwing the ball.
Yeah. So Ladarius Green has a second concussion, not diagnosed until yesterday, and so I don't know how many people are starting Ladarius Green, but it's time to usher him back into the vault of irrelevance.
And that's I can't remember the Colts receiver who had got Peyton Manning would get this guy concussed all the time.
Oh yeah, I liked that.
I liked that happening.
I like that kid.
It's Collie.
It
Yeah,
was
Austin
Austin Collie.
Collie.
Yeah.
But Ladarius Green, second concussion in about 2 weeks. Dude, that's bad news, man. You need to take a break. I understand this is your profession, but you don't want to die.
Yeah.
So
yesterday, big news, bro.
Twitter blew up.
DeMarco Murray comes off the practice field with a hamstring injury, and the report comes out immediately that they're doing an MRI on the hamstring. The initial report is that it's not supposed to be a major injury, but that does not mean he's playing this week.
Yeah.
So Ryan Matthews owners, Darren Sproles owners, see, that's the first thing I did, believe it or not, is I went out
Sproles.
and I went to get Sproles from the owners of Darren Sproles, because if a game takes place without DeMarco Murray, Darren Sproles might have more value than Matthews to me, or the same.
I can agree with that. Against the Jets, it was already going to be a rough matchup for DeMarco Murray.
And the price for Sproles is probably cheaper than Matthews. On an injury, you can get Sproles cheaper.
And it was a very funny situation of how many questions I fielded yesterday. Do I drop Ryan Matthews? And then
before the news?
Yes. And then I was saying, no, you can't drop him. And then boom. Well, Ryan Matthews hamstring.
Let me ask this
DeMarco
then, because
hamstring.
I got a lot of these questions after the news broke. Should I trade Ryan Matthews to try to get value from him during this injury? What do you guys think about that? Injury comes, all of a sudden the guy you've had on your bench waiting to get value has value. Do you take advantage of that value by having him and playing him, or by trading him?
I vote the trade route most often.
I agree.
You don't have an established workload or expectation or production from Matthews just because he has opportunity. And so if you can get value that represents those three things I named, that's kind of the angle I take, because somebody's freaking out with DeMarco Murray. They spent a high pick on him, and they're probably willing to give you something pretty valuable to ensure that position.
Yeah, it's always one of those trick questions, right? Because it's a matter of
It
value.
is. Yeah.
And if you don't just trade him because we say, that's what you do. It's can you get something of real good long-term value from a guy who might just be a 1 week.
Let me ask you, Jason. Would we be talking about that differently, though, if Philadelphia's offense had been gangbusters? I mean, then you see this huge opportunity for Ryan Matthews, because you're like, oh, DeMarco went out and he had 200 yards and 10 catches in the first two games. He's struggled, so I think our perception of Ryan Matthews is probably different.
I agree with that. The Jets really is the tiebreaker here. Is I don't expect them to turn it around on the Jets this week.
Right.
But hamstring injuries, if you've got Matthews and you can't get value for him, hamstring injuries tend to leak back
and
into.
They can get worse really easy.
So
Alshon Jeffrey did not practice. Do we expect him to play?
No.
I don't think so.
Do you expect Cutler to play?
Yes.
They're now saying he might play after ruling it was the
news
was him
0-2
out
Bears
for 2 weeks.
continue to spend a large amount of their time on injury manipulation stories. Have you seen? I mean,
no. It's
why
the advantage they've got has been tremendous.
It's really working
they
out
are
for you.
they
Fox.
are almost in every game.
I'm going to take a quick detour, Bears related.
That's sad because they're not even almost barely in a game.
We did not talk about this last week, and I apologize for that. Jeremy Langford took a touchdown away from Matt Forte last week.
He took some serious snaps away.
And Matt Forte has been a little bit banged up. Do we buy into, I mean, among all the handcuffs you could sign, is Jeremy Langford somebody that you should consider signing?
Only if you've got Forte, in my opinion. I think there's better options to have as handcuffs, generally speaking, right now around the league.
He's a bench stash. And watching him, because it was the Cardinal game, he looked fine. He looked pretty fast. Just for the old eyeball test, but that's been the question with Forte. I personally had to really eat my words after week 1, where where Forte looked spry. He was getting fully used, but my concern was always, could he hold up for the long term? And they're already working in other running backs, so I'm not selling Forte. That's not what I'm advising right now.
Sure,
but it's something that you need to keep in mind.
Well, and he was limited. And if he's limited and they've already worked Langford into the rotation a little bit, I think the workload's going to be decreased possibly. All right, so Victor Cruz is out. Arian Foster, Bill O'Brien said he doesn't expect him to play, but if you read the quote, I really believe that Bill O'Brien is playing games. I really, really do. Did you read the quote?
I saw it, and I remember thinking, okay, so he's not out.
Exactly.
But
I don't expect them to play. If I had to choose one direction based on that quote, I'd say no. But he said, quote, "I'm not sure about this week, but I would say sooner rather than later."
So, Andy, are you going to be watching your roster at 9:00 Pacific?
Yes.
And then if he's in, you're gonna put him in ahead.
Well, let me ask you guys, what would you do in my situation? I have T.J. Yeldon against the New England Patriots, Jonathan Stewart against New Orleans, Chris Ivory against Philadelphia, but Philly might not have their linebackers, and then I have Arian Foster sitting on my bench against Tampa Bay, who's the 25th against the run.
Man, I think
who would you bench if Foster's in?
If it was my team, I would bench none of them.
Okay. That's fair. I mean,
you just don't know yet, and you've got 3 decent options. Arian could easily outperform all 3 of them, but he could also go in for a couple touches as a warm-up game, get 5 touches for probably 50 yards, and
now
then come out.
You are the person I'm playing.
Yeah,
in this
so
league.
don't play Arian Foster is what I'm saying. Just don't play.
What would you do, Mike?
I play Arian Foster. I don't know right now. I don't know of those 3 who I bench because I like all 3 of those guys.
I might be able to withstand a victory if I play it.
By benching
it's not
Arian
as easy
Foster.
as you think to withstand victories.
It's such a burden on my life to take them on. Let's talk Dolphins. Lamar Miller didn't practice. Jonas Gray is doing the roster dance all year long on all these teams.
Yeah, back and forth.
He was cut, then practice squad, then active, then cut, then active.
Then practice, and now he's back on the active. So it sounds like the Dolphins are at least preparing for Lamar Miller to sit out.
Or being limited. He could be limited.
It was already a situation where I'm probably
I have told everybody to bench
Miller. Oh, that sucks.
Are you playing Lamar Miller?
Nope. He is on my bench.
Wow.
It's a tough matchup this week.
Wow.
Yeah.
All right. Jordan Cameron hopes to play.
They said he was moving around decently on the side for practice. He had a groin injury, so we'll wait and see.
Josh McCown was cleared. He is going to start. Manziel's back on the bench. And there is one player that I think this affects.
Benjamin? Yep.
He has seemingly had a rapport with Manziel. And his catches have been limited and his production's been limited. So if you spent a lot on Benjamin, you might be disappointed this week.
I can't believe they're going back to McCown.
I can.
I can.
No. I'm saying
I would go back to McCown
Really?
because Manziel turns the ball over too much.
Yeah, but
4 fumbles in 2 games. I mean,
not only that, but I don't think there was anything to change what the entire idea of your offseason, all your practice, all your game plan, all of that. I mean, this last game, they literally rolled Manziel on every single pass play. It's not the game plan that they came into the season.
They did win, though.
Fair enough.
They did win, and they have a winnable matchup this week if they play well. All right, so the last bit of news, DeAndre Hopkins.
Yeah.
What are you hearing about him?
Apparently he has a concussion out of nowhere that nobody knew about, and it just popped up on the reports yesterday. So he's in the protocol. It could be rough for him to actually make it through and test out of the protocol to play this weekend. So if you have Hopkins, you need to have backup options.
Yeah, okay. I agree with that. It is week 3, and that is week 3 of FanDuel, my friends. A lot of good games coming up this week. A lot of interesting FanDuel plays, including, I think, some good starts at tight end with a lot of these backup quarterbacks coming through. The Jason Wittens of the world, I think, have a lot of value this week in FanDuel. So if you're not playing on FanDuel, I ask you why. Why are you not playing on FanDuel? They pay out over $75 million every single week. It's a salary cap format. You pick any player you want. You don't get locked into the same roster because it's week to week. Entry fees start at just $1 and anybody can play. We've all heard of FanDuel. Now it's time to jump in, and if you jump in with our coupon code BALLERS, you get up to $200, and that's a good deal.
That's a pretty
sweet deal. So
it's a lot of cash.
if you jump in with your friends, play FanDuel. They're the leader in 1 week fantasy sports. They have more winners, more payouts than anybody else. So go to FanDuel.com, click on the microphone in the upper right-hand corner, use our code BALLERS, and sign up right now. And you get the special offer, a bonus of up to $200 on your first deposit if you use the promo code BALLERS. So FanDuel.com, where every day is a new season. That's FanDuel.com. Sign up today.
Yeah, and if you've got one of your favorite players on your hometown team in your FanDuel lineup, well, NFL Week 3 is here, and SeatGeek is the place to get your tickets to this week's game. Okay, so you've got the Redskins-Giants tonight. It's not too late to get your tickets, and if you haven't used SeatGeek to get tickets yet, use the promo code FOOTBALLERS in the SeatGeek app, and they will give you $20 in a rebate after you make your first purchase with SeatGeek. SeatGeek app is really, really great. They do 3 things that are very different. You've heard us talk about SeatGeek before. It's the app I use to buy tickets. First, they pull in tickets from over 100 different locations, so you know that all of the ticket availability for your game is going to be there with SeatGeek. Then they show you a deal score value plot color-coded where you just look at the sections you like and you can see this is the best priced ticket for your money. You grab it so quick, and in the app, it's one touch to buy tickets. It's so easy. No captchas, no other annoying stuff you get with most other ticket companies. So here's what you do to redeem the promo code and save $20 on tickets. You're going to download the free SeatGeek app right now. You're going to enter the promo code FOOTBALLERS in the app, and then SeatGeek will send you $20 once you've made your first SeatGeek purchase. Every ticket purchase on SeatGeek is backed by a 100% guarantee. So go get it today and enjoy the game.
I will say right now, SeatGeek is a Foot Clan approved app.
100%.
Absolutely. Because we get tweets all the time. People get the best deal on their games. I mean, it's a very practical thing. I'm going to go to a Cardinal game here in a couple weeks. I'm going to use SeatGeek. It's just a no-brainer. So let's get into the fantasy forecast.
Fantasy forecast.
All right, Jason is jazzed. You are
drinking. Me up.
What are you drinking here? You're drinking a Ultra Sunrise energy drink?
I am an Ultra Sunrise man.
You have caffeine flowing through your body?
And jazz music. That wasn't really jazz, but
through your body?
Through my body. Mike, you've played through me.
You play some jazz flute?
All right, Washington in New York. The Giants are favored by 3 points. The over-under in this game is 44. Are we expecting fantasy production?
Do we expect a Vietnam-style flashback for Kirk Cousins as he takes on Washington?
The Thursday night game. You're talking about
massacre.
Oof.
That was brutal. You were last year.
I was a recipient
when we had about 6 listeners listening to the show. You were a big Captain Kirk.
Sure was. And he did fantastic for a few games, and then he played the Giants, and he lost everything. He lost his house, his wife, his kids, his dog.
I don't think Kirk Cousins is going to implode, and here's why. Because I think Washington's run game is legit. Washington, you mentioned last time, they've got the new offensive line coach that was from Dallas.
Bill Callahan.
And they have ran for more yards than any other team so far this year. Matt Jones looks awesome, and there's a great 1-2 punch behind Alfred Morris. So this is going to be – I'm really excited to watch this game to see is their run – because New York's run defense has been pretty good this year, and Washington's run offense has been great. So I want to see who is more legit, who is true.
Something's got to give.
Something's got to give, and I think it's going to be really telling for weeks 4 and on to see how good this run offense is.
I think Kirk Cousins has a fine game. I think a couple touchdowns is in the cards for him tonight. I think it'll be a pretty good game, and like you said, I actually – let me see your opinions because I have mine on this. If you're starting Morris or Jones, who do you start tonight?
Oh, Morris for sure.
It still has to be Morris, but, man, I want to flex Matt Jones. I think he can have a good game.
I am with the Morris company as well. I have Morris the highest of the three of us. We actually have him really close. I have him at 21. Jason, you have him at 23. Mike, 22. So that's an RB2.
Do you start the New York running backs here? Who do you start, Jennings or Vereen?
Yeah, Vereen had a great game through the air. Not so much a good game on the ground, but have they found a formula, or was that simply the matchup against the Falcons?
I think it's more the formula. I think they brought him in the offseason to play the role that he's starting to understand in McAdoo's offensive system. You also saw that Rashad Jennings was terrible. I mean, he was awful. Do
you start Jennings or David Johnson?
Oh, that's
I know what your rankings say, but what do you say right now?
I would start David Johnson.
You do. You have Johnson 5 ahead. Mike?
Man, Probably David Johnson.
Yeah, you have him like 12 ahead.
Who?
Well, we're not there yet. We gotta
No,
let
I
it
was just
simmer.
wanting the song.
I know. That's what I'm
He's
saying.
saving it.
I'm saving
All
the
right.
song.
I don't know why, though, because we're not talking about that game today. All right, so the
Leave him wanting. Leave him wanting.
All right, so Jordan Reed, Larry Donnell.
Jordan Reed. Jordan Reed is an every week.
Well, it's not
play.
I didn't mean necessarily
Oh.
either one. I mean, are you starting Donnell as a streamer tonight, or are you leaving him on the bench?
Donald, whatever his name is. I'm telling you,
You're ruining this. You're ruining his name for no reason.
Did I ruin his name?
Or did his parents ruin his name?
Thank you. We haven't been updated on if Fells is going to play or not.
I don't start Donnell tonight.
I'm just saying, if you're desperate, if Fells is out,
Right.
and you're desperate for a tight end, then Larry D might be able to fill in for you. And Jordan Reed is an every week start. If he's healthy, he's a tight end one.
All right, let's talk about the Bengals at the Ravens. The Bengals at the Ravens. I was tempted to make this one my upset of the week, but it felt cheap because the Ravens are at home and they're favored, even though they're 0-2 and the Bengals are 2-0.
So wait, you were going to say the Ravens are going to upset
before I
even
saw
though
the
they're
line.
favored?
Before I saw the line, yeah, and just because the Ravens had been struggling, but
There's no way they go 0-3, right?
well, I think the Ravens probably win this game, yeah, but it's not an upset. It's not an upset
right.
if they do.
Right.
Yeah. So I do think Andy Dalton is a very nice streaming play this week.
So I've actually cooled a bit. Earlier in the week when I was looking at matchups, he seemed to be an obvious choice. But I think people are overlooking the Ravens dominated the Broncos just 2 weeks ago. And I know they really, really crapped their pants against Oakland, but they had to
They
go.
also lost T. Suggs in between there.
And that's very valid. But when you have to go, it's a historical thing. When teams have to travel across an entire continent, basically. What?
Cincinnati to Baltimore?
No, I'm saying when they had to go to Oakland.
Oh, I got
When
you.
they had to go to Oakland.
That is what continent's in between
They're
Cincinnati
walking.
and Baltimore?
They're putting
Okay.
on backpacks and they're walking to the game. But when they had to go to Oakland, it's a huge travel.
Sure.
And it was very, very hot.
That's a good
in
point.
Oakland, which this is another key point. I am desperately hoping, I'm holding on to this weather theory that it was so hot, and that's part of why they were rotating running backs so much in Baltimore.
Well,
because it was so hot.
You also
for 4 sets usage.
You saw David carve up
Derek.
Thank you. Carve up last week, but they went out and they got another cornerback this week. So they see their problems. They're at home. Their defense is going to be playing better, and I have cooled a lot on Andy Dalton. I don't expect him to have a great week. In fact, I think I've got him in my
I've told a lot of people to stream him. I have no problem streaming Andy Dalton. The weapons are immense. You have Gio Bernard playing very well. Tyler Eifert, AJ Green has played well. Marvin Jones. They're cruising on offense right now. And so for me, you'll have to choose between Jason and I then on your Andy Dalton start decisions, and we'll see who. Is there a bet there? Would there be a bet there?
Yeah, there's a bet there.
Do you think he throws 2 touchdowns?
I want to go heads up on my start of the week.
Heads up on your start of the week.
I think you've got behind him. Alex Smith versus Andy Dalton.
Whoa.
I'll take that.
This is disgusting.
I'll absolutely take that. I'll take that disgusting bet.
There you go.
Water bet.
That's a really good bet. That's perfect. That's perfect. Write that down.
I'm putting it in.
Okay, so anything else we want to talk about from the Bengals-Ravens game? Taliaferro was banged up a little bit in practice. Buck Allen will be the backup if Taliaferro can't play. You've also got A.J. Green that was banged up a little bit in practice. We didn't mention it at the top of the show because I don't think there's a lot of concern, but he was limited yesterday. I am going after A.J. Green in a lot of leagues. I still think his upside is immense. His track record is unbelievable in terms of double-digit touchdown potential, high yardage. So are you guys about A.J. Green?
Love A.J. Green this week.
Yeah, the slow start is he dropped a touchdown. I think it was in week 1. And A.J. Green is an elite wide receiver. If there's any panicky owners in your league for whatever reason, like we had talked about a few days ago, of making a strong offer to get A.J. Green, do it.
So this week, though, you have him quite a bit lower than Jason and I, Mike. You have him down at 18. We have him at 7 and 8. You are starting Stevie Johnson ahead of him. Do you still feel that way? Stevie Johnson, Amari Cooper, Steve Smith, Donte Moncrief.
Just because he's numerically far lower than those other guys, that doesn't mean that their points are that much different.
Sure.
And no, if you have A.J. Green, I'm not starting those other guys ahead of him just because of upside.
We'll talk Moncrief when we get to the Colts-Titans game.
Man, Moncrief.
Because we have some very divergent rankings on him, and we can go into that. But Raiders at the Browns. We talked a little bit about the fact Josh McCown is back. You have Latavius Murray, who's had a very productive fantasy start to the season. Derek Carr coming off one of his best games of the year. Is Carr a streaming option to you?
Nope, not this week. I think the Browns are a good streaming defense this week. I don't like Derek Carr going on the road at this point of his career.
Browns have given up under 200 a game through the air.
Yeah,
but a lot on the ground.
Don't worry about that. But Derek Carr, what you want for a defense, you want Derek Carr, who's a reasonably inexperienced quarterback. He's kind of a gunslinger and not a highly accurate gunslinger who's going to turn the ball over. And so I'm not confident streaming him yet.
You know what makes Derek Carr a lot better this year is Amari Cooper.
His weapons are much better. Yeah.
And that's what really helped him with week 1. I like your stream of the week, which I'm not going to say, but Joe Hayden, for a rookie, I like Amari Cooper a lot, but he's a rookie, and he's going up against a true veteran lockdown, and Hayden's going to be on Amari Cooper. And so I think that's the reason why I don't love streaming Derek Carr this week, and that's also the reason they haven't given up a ton through the air so far.
I agree. Those are very good points. The Raiders D has given up a ton of points through the air. Not that I'm suggesting you start McCown, but somebody has to produce through the air for Cleveland, don't they?
No. No, they don't.
So you don't start Benjamin. Everybody signed him this week. You're not starting him?
No, Benjamin has been the result of, I think he has 7 total targets on the year. If you want to throw in a home run ball guy into your lineup, go ahead. But understand his 2 huge plays were Johnny Manziel scrambling outside of the pocket on a not broken play, but designed to extend the life of the play so Benjamin has the ability to get open. Josh McCown is unlikely to do that.
What about the fact that Josh McCown's going to take a nasty hit in this game and probably go out? Because he takes a nasty hit every game of his entire career.
The probability is about 65%.
All right, start, sit, Michael Crabtree.
Start. When I'm saying I don't want to stream Derek Carr, I'm not down on the Raiders' offense completely this week.
You both said start very quickly. What do you mean?
I mean that I think that Derek Carr is going to put up some yards. I don't think they're going to go as much to Amari Cooper because of Joe Hayden. And so who's going to get him? I would say Michael Crabtree.
So Crabtree or Cooper?
Boom,
I would.
boom, boom.
I'm going to check my rankings because I did some work. I did some research on this. I want to see how they statted out for me.
I can tell you.
Oh, good. Tell me.
You have Amari Cooper at 12. You have Michael Crabtree at...
Oh, no. Sorry, I don't. I will update those. I updated them on my spreadsheet, but I haven't put them up here. Sure. I looked at the Hayden effect and changed Cooper. I still have Cooper a little bit ahead, but no, Cooper was – I saw Cooper at 12 and went, wait, he's going up against Hayden.
Both were force-fed targets, so we won't stay on that game too much longer. So the Saints at Carolina, it's one of the bigger lines. I think it opened up at like a 9-point spread and a 43-point over-under. I really like Cam Newton this week. Hint.
I can buy in. I'm not a Cam Newton guy, but this seems like the matchup that it would happen.
Are we concerned at all about Ingram? Because Ingram was not very productive last week, and I feel like the pass catching is going to diminish for him just based on a healthier and healthier C.J. Spiller coming into the fold. Do we like Ingram rest of season more or less than Jonathan Stewart?
More.
Oh, they're very close together, and my concern for Ingram relies with my concern for Drew Brees. If Drew Brees is not feared and the defense is not respecting his game, then Ingram could be in some big trouble.
Do we start, or are we rostering, I should say, Devin Funchess? Because of the situation with Cotchery and that wide receiver core.
Cotchery was already wide receiver 3 or 4. They were about the same with Funchess because
on that roster, not in fantasy.
Obviously. Right. Yeah. On that roster, you had Ginn and Brown ahead of him. So I don't think it makes that big a difference for Funchess, and he hasn't looked good. I mean, he caught one of his 4 targets last game, so I actually had been holding on to Funchess and dropped him. I think he's worth rostering, but it depends on how deep your league is, who's on the waivers. For my team, he was not worth rostering. So.
Panthers, one of the best defenses in football right now, about 200 through the air, 70 on the ground.
I have a question for you.
And I love them this week, by the way.
On the defense, Carolina or the Jets?
I had that decision.
Or the Jets.
I was looking at that this week, and I think that I would probably take Carolina.
I took Carolina in the same decision, but it was close to me. I was very.
It's very close, yeah. And ironically, you and I are playing each other, and we have those 2 defenses. So,
who has Carolina?
You do. Falcons at the Cowboys.
Brandon Whedon. Whee!
You are so excited. You must be listening to Jones.
I take all my fantasy advice from Jerry Jones, and he told me that you'd be hard pressed to find a prettier passer.
Well, if
I don't know if he meant in his face.
No, he did not. Sorry,
so you meant
Whedon.
So he meant that his actual pass is
yeah, because look,
the prettiest.
I mean, look at the Patriots. The Patriots got the pretty quarterbacks. I mean, those are the 2 most beautiful men on the face of the planet.
Brandon Whedon and Tom Brady?
No, Tom Brady and Garoppolo.
Oh yes.
So
yes.
who are you sitting in this game? Are you sitting Tevin Coleman? Because even if he's active,
there's word that Tevin Coleman can play through the pain, but I don't
like my running backs to have broken ribs.
No, I do not either. I'm not playing Coleman. I like Freeman a lot. I think Coleman sits, so I actually like Freeman a good bit this week just because of overall usage. I think the Cowboys will have to lean more on their running game, so this is the real test
for Joe Randall.
So the Christine Michael truthers, our time is coming of either of the put up or shut up, and I think in the next couple weeks it's really going to be decided.
Only 4 years waiting for the Christine Michael truthers.
Well, you knew he wouldn't get past Lynch.
Oh yeah, we knew that. Except for every offseason, all the people out there. Oh, this is the time. Look how good he is.
That's really true.
It is really true.
We're moving, but so the next couple weeks is
$7 fab.
Yeah, well spent. Well spent money.
I know.
I think the sneaky play of the week in this game is Lance Dunbar. The Falcons have, like Shane Vereen last week, just torched the Falcons in the middle in the passing game. So that's why I think Lance Dunbar could be a really sneaky PPR flex guy this week.
And obviously you're starting Ryan, you're starting Jones, you are starting Randall, I think, and then Witten. You got to put Witten in there. I think Witten benefits the most from I guess Witten doesn't really benefit from losing Romo, who's a go-to guy, but at the same time, he's the kind of
safety valve,
and he had good numbers with Whedon in the past. So.
And I'm still starting Roddy White despite the where he put up the same amount of points as Mike Evans last week.
I agree with that. I agree that Roddy White over Hankerson is still absolutely who you want for the Falcons.
Okay, so let's talk about 2 more games here before we get to the starts of the week. Let's go through the Buccaneers at the Texans. Is there somebody in this game? Now, I'm very high on Mike Evans this week. I'm probably much higher than both of you guys. He's going to be on a full snap count this week. I really, really like his chance. Like, I've been trying to get him in every single league because I think I like his opportunity to really, really bounce back and have a huge game.
No ASJ there, probably.
I like Vincent Jackson. I like his opportunity now.
Let me ask, is there a water bet to be made here?
So let me highlight the difference. I have Mike Evans, and this will be one of those moments of the show that you remember as being terrible for me or great. You guys have him at 20 and 27. Jason, you're the 27.
I assumed I was.
I have him at 5 this week.
That sounds like a water bet to me.
Where do we have Vincent I will bet Vincent Jackson versus you guys have Vincent Jackson at 13 and 21. So 13? You guys should be very confident betting me Mike Evans versus Vincent Jackson.
I'm fine doing it.
All right, that's a one-on-one right there.
No, that's not a one-on-one for you.
What do you mean? You can't force him into a bet.
First of all, I just took
a bet with you.
Let him speak for himself there.
I did.
I'm speaking to Jason saying you have Vincent Jackson at 13. So put your money where your mouth is.
The nice thing about it on this is because you and Mike have already made a bet, I get
First
to
of all, we
have
haven't.
a free. You haven't?
I haven't hit the button.
Hit the button.
No, I'm waiting for it to be a manly bet with men.
Let's do it.
Waterbed.
So much resistance for standing up to your own rankings.
No, it's not a matter of that. It's a matter of I really like hedging all my bets and being right as often as I can. In which case, I got to see you get wet if I was right. I get to see Mike get wet if I was wrong, and I get to stay safely on the sidelines. But you guys don't.
You always withstand your victories so well. All right, so more guys from this game. If you need to start a running back for the Texans, and Foster's that, you need to start Chris Polk. 100% you need to start Chris Polk. Alfred Blue had, I think, 5-6 carries last week. Polk had the most touches by far. And
that was really
he is the guy to own.
That was a game flow thing, though, when they were down and late in the game where all of a sudden they completely turned it over to Polk. You really think that Polk ends up with more touches this game?
100%.
All right. That's not worth the water bet, but I
Alfred
actually think
Blue
Alfred
has
Blue
been
ends up with more
so
touches.
ineffective this year. I think Polk's the guy you have to start. And I have him as a sneaky start this week. If you have to have a running back that you're running out there, I'm okay with you running Polk out there, which I guess I'll probably stand alone on. But it's the Buccaneers, and if Foster's out, I like that. Yeah. So let's talk about – we already talked about Evans. So Hopkins, if he's out, who benefits from the wide receiver position? And do we care? Do we care at all?
Probably. Shorts is actually getting a ton of targets. So if anybody, Shorts, I don't feel like I'm plugging him into any of my season long, but as a DFS type guy, he's a sneaky guy for tournaments.
Yeah, and we'll talk more DFS tomorrow too. We'll have our daily dose segment. So the Buccaneers defense has only given up 200 through the air. This is a low scoring, probably the lowest line in Vegas. So I wouldn't expect. I think Texans D is an amazing play this week, obviously. Colts at the Titans. We'll get to talk about Moncrief real quickly here. This is an Andrew Luck. He's my number one. I know everyone's freaking out about Andrew Luck, but I think this is the week that you see a fix coming. Do you guys agree?
I do agree.
Agree.
If it wasn't too easy, he would have been my start of the week.
Andrew Luck?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have him as my number one quarterback this week. So what's wrong with Andre Johnson?
He's old.
Is that really what it is?
I think so, and I also think it's a matter of the fact that he was in essentially one offense for his whole career, and now he's had to switch, try to learn a completely different offense from really a different position than what he's played his career with less tools than he had. And there's other weapons there that already have rapport, have a year under their belt with Andrew Luck and in that offense, so it's hard to step in and become a star. He's really going to be a role player for the rest of the season.
Now, the Titans' D has actually been very productive statistically through 2 games. Their matchups have been a lot different than the Colts, clearly. I want to talk about Donte Moncrief for a second because people are freaking out about – here's an example of a trade offer that somebody sent across for a question. It was a Brandon Cooks. The Moncrief owner wanted Brandon Cooks plus.
I don't blame him.
You don't blame him?
I don't.
Rest of season.
Moncrief?
Yeah.
Yes.
You like Moncrief more than Cooks rest of season?
Yes. Oh. Give me Moncrief.
I like Moncrief a lot, but I would also take Moncrief, who I like, and approach the Brandon Cooks owner and say, would you like Moncrief? And if you had him, I could get Cooks from you
easily.
For Moncrief.
You could get Cooks.
And I would do that.
I'm not feeling confident at all in Brandon Cooks.
I'm fine with that, but I think Moncrief has been there has been a perfect storm for Moncrief through 2 games, and it's called garbage time and T.Y. Hilton's injury. And so I think Moncrief's production, if you saw it, if you got rid of the kind of comeback garbage time production last game, he had an okay game. He had like a 40-yard touchdown.
It wasn't really garbage time last week.
Yeah,
what I mean is that the Colts have been playing from behind for 90% of their season.
Yeah, but
that's Hilton has been hurt, and Hilton, he hadn't produced greatly until Hilton went off the field again at the end of last game.
He was still getting targets.
Who was?
Moncrief.
But he didn't produce at that level. He caught 3 or 4 passes after Hilton went off the field, including his touchdown. I'm just saying, I think Moncrief is a mirage.
I do not. I don't think Moncrief's a mirage, but I still like Cooks. And Cooks, to me, is somebody that I think you can buy extremely low. You can get him very cheap right now.
Yeah, I would take Cooks the rest of the season over Moncrief, and I wouldn't even think twice about it. But that is why there's 3 of us with 3 different opinions. So I'm curious how that will pan out. All right, we're going to get into our starts of the week.
Starts of the week.
All right, we're going to have to blitz through these guys. Let's start at the quarterback position. Mike, who do you have as your quarterback start of the week?
Tyrod Taylor, 40-yard rushing floor. That is just a glorious thing to have.
Say it again because you said it fast.
40 yards. That's how much he's rushed each of the first 2 games, at least 40 yards. And that is a tremendous cushion into your fantasy production. He has capable weapons in the receiving game. He has capable weapons from under his hips that are his legs, and they are glorious legs. And Miami is very beatable. I understand it's down in Miami, but Tyrod Taylor is just
he makes things happen.
And the Miami defense, their secondary is just in shambles right now.
All right, Jason, who is your quarterback start of the week?
It's Alex Smith, which we've got a water bet on. I believe that it's going to be a high-scoring game in Green Bay. Alex Smith doesn't really turn the ball over. He's going to have a safe game plan, but we haven't seen Jeremy Maclin break out yet, and I think this is the type of game with a lot of points going where he can break one long, get a touchdown. You've still got Jamal Charles able to grab touchdowns from Alex Smith in the air, and of course, you've got Zeus. So with the weapons and a high-scoring game, I feel like Alex Smith has a bounce-back game here.
Another guy running the ball like crazy is my start of the week, Cam Newton. He is running with the conviction of a man who has no wide receivers. And the reality is he had a very big game last week. I don't know what his floor has been through 2 games, but it's got to be higher than 40. And he's taken, I think, 10 and 11 carries in their 2 games. So I love him at New Orleans. New Orleans defense, that team right now is, on both sides of the ball, is disheveled. And I think Newton just has the ability to come out and have a great game. Greg Olsen was heavily targeted last week. He'll be involved. And I like Newton. I think he's my 5th quarterback this week. So let's go to the running back position. I'll go ahead and start us off. It is T.J. Yeldon. T.J. Yeldon at New England. He had 25 carries and 3 catches last week. He's had 3 catches in both of his games. Denard Robinson is out for a while, and T.J. Yeldon passes the eye test to me. And New England's defense on the ground doesn't pass the eye test to me. So I think Yeldon is a sneaky play, and we'll get into it tomorrow when we talk about this game. But I have some almost upset of the week thoughts about this one.
Yeah, so I'm going to stick with the rookie running back as my start of the week, and I'm going Melvin Gordon. Melvin Gordon, I watched every single snap of last week for him just in a row, and he looks amazing.
He looks great.
He looks powerful. He's running guys over. He's breaking tackles. He looks like why they traded up to get him in the first round, and he's going up against Minnesota, who had a fine game last week. I mean, they were really good. But you know what they didn't have last week? They didn't have any power rushing against them. They had Joik Bell. And Joik Bell looks like he's coming off of 2 surgeries. And the powerful back, like a Carlos Hyde.
Joik Bell had 2 carries.
That's my point. My point is they didn't have a power running game at all against Minnesota. It's not like Minnesota stopped the run. It's there was no run.
You're saying they didn't have an opportunity.
Exactly.
Okay.
So people are like, oh, they only gave up 50 yards running. Well, yeah, they ran the ball 3 times. It's like,
gotcha.
But the week before, against a powerful runner in Carlos Hyde, they were destroyed. And since the beginning of last year, they've had a very weak run D. And I think Melvin Gordon, with how he's running, is going to be a perfect storm here. So I like Melvin Gordon.
Now, for my running back start of the week, I have put my money where my mouth is. If you listened to the previous shows, I traded for C.J. Anderson, and I like Anderson to bounce back. I think this is the week. Detroit has a very soft run D. They gave up 97 yards and 2 touchdowns to San Diego, and 150 yards last week against Adrian Peterson, and Peterson even fumbled multiple times on the goal line. So the running back points are there to take against Detroit, and I like Anderson. If it's going to happen, it's going to happen this week, and I am going down with this ship.
Yes,
with you
are,
because I'm starting him.
All right, give me your wide receiver, Mike.
My wide receiver, Michael Crabtree. And it is simply a matter of volume. 24 targets. That's 5th in the league.
Wow, I did not realize that.
There was a huge amount last week. Granted, I think it was 16 of his targets. But week 1, 8 targets. And I agree with Jason. I think that Joe Hayden will be more focused on Amari Cooper. And I think, despite I don't really like Derek Carr this week, but you can still like a receiver if you don't like his quarterback. I like Crabtree.
I really like that.
Just getting force-fed targets.
All right, Jason, who's your wide receiver start of the week?
Brandon Marshall. You got Eric Decker a little bit hurt. Brandon Marshall, just like what you were saying, he's getting a ton of targets this week. And Fitzmagic has always really targeted in on one wide receiver and just peppered him over and over and over. So I think that coming up this week, the Eagles D has been susceptible to some of that, and Brandon Marshall is a guy that going forward needs to be looked at as essentially a wide receiver 1.
I'm going with Mike Evans. I talked about him earlier. He's very, very high on my list this week, which I know is a leap for some people because he hasn't produced yet this year. But he's coming off an injury, was on a pitch count last week, and there's no Austin Seferian-Jenkins anymore. I think he will get major opportunities in this offense to succeed this week. And if there's one thing I know about Winston is that he has the ability to connect with bigger receivers. He's willing to throw the ball up to them, and Evans just plain comes down with the ball. So, all right, moving to tight end, I'm going to say Jimmy Graham. Jimmy Graham versus Chicago. There's a lot of factors here. One of the perceptions about Jimmy Graham that is wrong is that he is being used to not run routes for some reason. His percentage of routes run is the exact same in Seattle as it was in New Orleans. He is running routes just as often. It has been a target issue, which is, I think, a little bit of an outlier issue with obviously that offense runs a different offense than Drew Brees ran, but at the same time, it was just, I think, an issue where first week he had, I think, 6 catches and a touchdown. Last week he wasn't targeted a lot, and he was a little upset about it. I think he's peppered with targets against Chicago. I really like Jimmy Graham this week. He's my number 2 overall tight end.
I surprisingly really agree with you because the squeaky wheel gets the oil, and he has been squeaking and crying over there, and I think he's going to get targets. And if I'm a Jimmy Graham owner, this is what I do if you are correct. I play him, I get great production this week, and I trade him immediately because it's going to be
I don't disagree with that either.
Join me.
Yeah, it's going to be
Join me.
Every week. Who's going to get those few, passes?
I think Mike has him ranked too low this week simply because of I think the numbers right in front of you in the matchup with Chicago say that Jimmy's going to have a decent game, but I think you're just resistant because you hate Jimmy Graham.
No, not at all. But my resistance is that I think Seattle is going to smoke them, but it literally could be all Marshawn Lynch. Marshawn could get 28 carries this game because they don't have to do anything else.
All right, my tight end of the week is Kyle Rudolph. I'm in love with Kyle Rudolph this week for a guy that you can just go get on waivers in most leagues. He's had 5 catches each game, but San Diego has a great pass D. They've got a great cornerback 1, a great cornerback 2 that are going to take away Teddy Bridgewater's wide receivers, and we've seen Teddy Bridgewater will use Kyle Rudolph as a check down guy, and San Diego's been a little bit susceptible to that. We saw Eric Ebron. They've given up a touchdown each week. I expect Kyle Rudolph to get a touchdown and to have at least 5 receptions. So I
have him for a touchdown as well in my stats.
Smart man.
My tight end is Jordan Reed. I like Jordan Reed a lot. He's tied for second in tight end targets with 17 through 2 weeks. The Giants are giving up 65-plus yards to the tight end. I just think he's a fantastic talent who was adored when he came into the league. It was just a matter of hamstring injuries, and as long as he is healthy, he is in my lineup.
And you'll get to see that pay out tonight in the Thursday night game, most likely. And I agree with you. I think he's a great start. So those are our starts of the week. We have a good show for you tomorrow. We're going to go through the rest of the games. We're going to have our Daily Dose segment, our full stream ahead segment, some guys you can grab off of waivers right now and throw in at the quarterback position. If you're one of those guys with a shaky quarterback situation and you're not sure who to start, I want to remind everybody that if you have a question that you'd like answered by us, you can go to the website, thefantasyfootballers.com, click on the Submit a Question button. If you have a question that needs answering, trade questions, waivers, guys to start, we're here to help you out. This show is about the Foot Clan. It's about the listeners. And I want to remind you to check out jointhefoot.com. That is our fantasy football community. You can get involved with us. We're on there all the time talking to everybody on there. There's a large community of listeners that can share their opinions about what your team's going through and the situations that you have. And so I just want to remind you to check those things out. And we should have a good show for you tomorrow.
Eddie Lacy not expected to practice today.
Wow. He was supposed to give it a test.
Breaking news,
today. I hope you have a backup option.
Yeah, that's James Starks alert.
Yeah.
All right. So
James Starks alert.
Thanks for listening. We'll be back here tomorrow. Check us out on Twitter at @TheFFBallers. See you later.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to another edition of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Don't forget to visit us on the web at www.thefantasyfootballers.com and follow us on Twitter at @TheFFBallers.